All right, and we're live from Leaders and Learners. It is a great Discord server. If anybody's watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description. You can join the conversation by clicking that link. But even better, you get to join this Discord server, which that is even a bigger value than joining this conversation because I do like this server. I think this server is a great place to be, and I'm glad Chris invited me to do an event because I really like it here. So, without further ado, the reason I am here is, well, you can see the title. People on Discord can see the title. People on YouTube can see the title. The title is This Racist? And I had a little bit of inspiration for this stream. So, there was this event actually at Lambeau Field. Okay, it was like a reading event for kids. It was really cool. It was really, really cool. And I went to this event with my wife and my daughter, and it was a great event. I don't have any complaints. There is no ill intent with me telling this story. It was a great event. I highly recommend it. All right. But my daughter did. We were able to pick out 2 books for completely free, and we let her choose the books. And there's this book. This is one of the books she chose. Okay. And it's the book is actually fine. I don't mind the book. It's a good book, but there is a poem that I want to read to all you guys, and I'd like to talk about it with whoever would like to talk about it. I'll give my opinion too, so don't worry. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and read it. It's the name of the book is Hello Beautiful You. It's by Andrea Davis Pinky. So I'm not going to read the whole book. I'm just going to read the poem here at the beginning. The night is beautiful, so the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful, so the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people. Actually, this poem was not by the author. It was actually by Langston Hughes. So she just put it in her book, or the publishing company did, or something along those lines. But in any case, back to the poem. It is a beautiful poem, and I agree with everything that was stated in the poem. Just to be clear. However, there's something that I find a little bit uneasy, and I'm not going to say it's racist. I don't think it's racist. However, I think it might be something that leads to tribalism, and tribalism it could be racism, right? Tribalism, racism kind of go hand in hand to a degree, right? If you guys haven't picked up on it, it is the use of the word my people. It's used 1, 2, 3 times in that poem, and the reason why I think it's tribal in nature, it's like these are my people, and I get it, right? I am assuming they are, and based off the theme of the book, I would assume that this individual is black, and she's talking about other black people, and she's saying that black people are beautiful, and that's great. That's great. I have no qualms about that. Absolutely no qualms. The way I would improve this poem, make it less tribal, if you will, I would replace the word my with these people, black people. I would change it from my to another word. And the reason why I think that is important is because it's not excluding people, right? It's not saying these are my people and everybody else is not my people, or these aren't your people. These are my people, or those are your people, my people, your people. You see how it's creating a divide, right? It's like I can trust these people, but I can't trust these people. I know she didn't state that. She didn't state that. And I don't think any of this is intentional, right? It's just one little teensy, incy bitty word, right? But I think it's I think it's a mindset. It's something like just taking these people and separating them into groups, and I'm not particularly a fan. I like to look at people of all races, of all ethnicities, of all religions, beliefs, whatever it might be. And they're all just people with different beliefs. Yeah, we can put them into these categories. We do that, and sometimes that's necessary. I get it. I really do get it. But I don't, in this case, I don't think that category is super, super necessary. Yeah, should we acknowledge it? Sure, that's fine. I mean, there's racial injustices occurring, right? I acknowledge that. But for a kid's book, I think maybe you could talk about it, and there's a good way to talk about it. I don't know if this is it, But anyways, if anybody does want to come up on stage and chat about this, I would like to give you guys an opportunity, and to let me know that you want to. You got to use that hand raising feature in Discord. They just updated stuff, so it might look different in Discord, but it used to be a hand. Hopefully, it's still a hand. I hope so. Or you can say in a comment, I suppose. I got the chat open. This might be a very short stream if I get nobody coming up. But I get why people would be hesitant to come up and talk about this topic, right? I just gave a lengthy rant, and it's one of those topics that is hard to talk about. It's a difficult thing to talk about, right? So I get it. I get why people. Chris, I will gladly have you come up on stage. Hey, Chris. What are your thoughts? Hold up, Chris. Just one sec, Chris. I I goofed up and somehow the audio isn't going through. Let's try now. Test for you. Say some words.
Yeah, test.
Perfect. Okay. Just repeat what you
That's
said.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I was going to say, for me as a parent, when I see books, when I read a kid's book, I'll look at each and every page and make sure, like, I look at the pictures, I look at the words, and yeah, some people would say it's over analyzing, but I mean, I'm sitting with a kid that their brain is developing, and I want to teach them things that I think are, go with my values. And I wouldn't want to misdirect them, but I think it's important too to read, a bunch of different books, because the kids, they themselves will ask the questions, right? What does this mean? What did they mean by this? And sometimes they don't even, we see things sometimes just because of our knowledge that they won't. They might
Yeah.
never even see my people as a divisive word.
Mhm.
But I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, for sure. The my people thing is like, why are you using these words, right? Why aren't we all using kind of more neutral words? I can see where you're coming from with that, for sure. It could seem divisive because it's us versus them, like you mentioned. Only some people, rather than everybody. But like, is it promoting tribalism? Is it okay to emphasize race and ethnicity like this? Will people feel left out? Will they put the book aside because it says my people, and the person reading it is white? Like, all these things are coming to my mind as I think about it. But I definitely think it's good to have these types of discussions, because, like you said earlier, it's taboo. It's
Mhm.
taboo, and if people I think it's important to discuss it, because if people don't discuss it, it's even more taboo. It becomes even more divisive not talking about it. So yeah, definitely talk about it. Make mistakes. I encourage anybody else to come up here. I know we're just 4 people tonight. It's later. I've a lot of Europeans. We have a lot of Europeans on the server, so it's later for them. But definitely talking about it is a good way to make something taboo a little bit more normal to talk about. And yeah, but yeah, I can see. I like that you bought the book. That's cool. You bought the book and you're looking into it.
Yeah, I mean, she picked it out. We didn't read every word before we before we got it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, and I
She
agree with
picked it.
you. It's like this is a taboo. This whole stream is probably a taboo, right?
Hmm.
We don't generally talk about this stuff, but I
Hmm.
think the only way we lose is by not talking about it, right? Because then we never figure stuff out. We just never
Hmm.
talk about it and it just stays that way forever. I would want
Hmm.
things to move forward. What I would want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's, if your objective is if your grand objective is to have really like a world that's together, not divisive, it is important to even analyze things that you're not sure about and have the discussions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
even if you'll make mistakes, someone will get angry at you. Someone even watching the stream might get angry. Again, it's, yeah, just to talk about, just having an open chat is the most important thing.
Right. Can I pick your
Having
brain
the
on
dialogue.
something you said earlier, Chris?
Yeah,
So you said
for sure.
something along the lines of a white kid picks up the book and reads My People. They might be like off put and not read like the rest of the book. And I hear that
Mhm.
concern. I don't think that would be what my. I was about to say that wouldn't be my main concern, but I think that actually, now thinking about it, and as I'm saying it, yeah, I think that's equally a part of my concern. Like I would be concerned about anyone who picks up that book, reads that word, and it was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is like I could picture a black kid picking up the book. Oh, my people. That means my people.
Mhm.
I can trust my people. Anyone else, maybe not so much. And I guess the white kid could do the same thing. Like, oh, that's them. That's that group, and this is my group. So I guess it goes both
Mhm.
ways.
Yep. Yeah, I think one thing that, if it was like I teach, right? I teach students,
Hmm.
and obviously I teach students, but yeah, I teach kids from different cultures.
Yeah.
And one thing that I see a lot is when kids talk about, my group or my people, like they'll use terminology like this too. It's
Hmm.
not always like a divisive thing. It's really because they want to show how proud they are from where they're from. Like they have their culture, they have their values, they have their unique stories. So sometimes my people can just mean that as well. Like different shared values, different cultures, like it's important to them. And obviously it's not saying like I want to divide myself from you. It's also just being like, I want to share my story,
Hmm.
right? Because my story is not often shared. So it can come from that too, possibly. So
Sure.
that could be one way. If a kid asks, like, "Well, why they use my people?" If they would use that's a big question for a kid. If a kid would ask you that, that could be one way of presenting it. Um, it would be like, "Hey, like, maybe my people just means, what I want to talk about my story, my past, my story, my group." Maybe it's that too.
I like
Could be
that.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the author of the poem, intended those words, but I like to be
Hmm.
as charitable as possible. And I like that interpretation, just trying to share a story. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Does anybody else want to come up and chat about that at all? Otherwise, I will move on to the next I don't even know what to call it. The next subject, maybe. um in any case, we'll move on. Next item. Thank you. All right. The next item on the list is ID voter laws. So, meaning you have to show your identification card, usually a driver's license, to vote in an election, whether that be in a presidential election or a, I don't know, city hall, governor, whatever's on the ballot. Some states in the United States have that. Some states have it. Some states do not. I think it's around 50-50 ish. So yeah, an interesting subject. People have their opinions. A lot of people do indicate that this is a form of racism or voter suppression, kind of based on race, even though it's just about the ID card. So I would like opinions on this. If anybody is willing to give an opinion, um, I can give mine, but I'm kind of boring and I'm one person. I'd like I'd like other people to speak up. Chris, you ask, how would someone get such an ID from the government? Usually going down to I think you get them at the DMV in my area. I would assume that's same case for pretty much everywhere in the United States, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe you have to go to Social Security office some places or something. Who knows? I don't think so. Are they free for everyone? I believe so. I believe you can get a regular ID card, not a driver's license, for free. Uh, I believe so. I mean, at least in Wisconsin, I know you can. Wisconsin, I think you do have to. It's either you have to show an ID or you have to have like a boatload of documents or something, but something like that. But I know in Wisconsin you can get one, and they don't charge you anything. I don't have one because I have a driver's license. I don't need one. You have to pay for a driver's license, but if you don't drive, you can get one. For easy to access, it's just a matter of getting there, really. And as long as you can prove you're a citizen, you're good to go. You don't have to. Well, I guess that might be a hurdle. You don't have those paperwork. You might have to purchase like a copy of your birth certificate or something, and that might cost money. So the access might be difficult. Um, is, but going back to the question, I guess these might be relevant to if it is racist, right? Is it easy enough to access who usually has IDs, right? Um, do I'll invite Chris up because I'm having a lack of words here. Maybe I should just keep you up here, Chris.
Yeah, maybe I'll just sit here. It's a more comfortable chair anyway.
There we go. So, what's on your mind? You prompted me to talk about uh, the access,
If it's easy to
whether it's
access.
free. Yeah, is that dependent on whether it's
um,
racist? Is that a free something to consider?
yeah. Well, if it's easy to access and everybody gets one, like if it was sent in the mail, I say would be fair for everybody. But if there's specific groups that have a hard time getting their hands on them, and it allows them to, or they don't vote because of it, and it's connected somehow to, if polls show that it's connected to skin color, for example, like if you're from a minority group, all of a sudden you have less access to these ID cards, then it would be systemically racist, yes, because why would you have less access to it if you're from a minority group? Um, yeah, if we can prove that, uh, it would make sense. I'd also like to bring up. I don't want to. I don't want to talk the whole time, ramble the whole time. But racism itself has different definitions for different people. Um,
Yes.
so when we're talking about is this racism or is this card or not having access to this card racist? Some people will say no because for some people racism is um, you have to scream it out at the top of your lungs to somebody walking by you. You know, it has to be like
Overt.
nasty, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be overt. Exactly. It has to be rough. But like small things like this, uh, for some people, it is not considered racism. But for others, even if it's small, even if it's stuff that's happening in the background, even if it's things that put people in a in a disadvantage to a disadvantage, then they consider it racism as well. So it's yeah, I would say that it's important to point that out. Yeah.
I got a question here, and I'm trying to think of how to word it.
Yep.
If there was like, let's say that this ID card was extremely vital to keeping elections from being tampered with. Let's say without these ID cards, the elections would be just a complete mess. I'm not saying that is the case. Hypothetical. And there, let's say this was the solution, the bulletproof solution to make them not go off the rails and be reliable as to what the people want. Would this should this still be considered, assuming that minorities can have less access to these ID cards and the ability to vote as a result? Would that still make this policy racist, or would it make it like necessary, or can it be both?
So
That was
if
a
an
lengthy
ID card
question.
is vital, yeah,
Sorry.
if an ID card, what I'm hearing you say is if an ID card is vital to keeping election from being tampered with, like if it's like the most important piece of information that allows you to have fair elections or reliable elections, like you said.
Yeah.
Um, and minorities would not have access to it. Would it be considered racist? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. If they had a more difficult time getting the cards, and this was like the bulletproof solution to fix some woes with the
Mhm.
elections, yeah, would this still be considered racist? If or would it should it not be
Yeah.
considered? Yeah.
If if it was proven with strong evidence um, that this is what's happening, um, then by definition, if you believe systemic racism exists, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
What, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it would be considered racism, and maybe we can fix that problem with them not be having access. Like you said strategy might be to send it in the mail as opposed to having going down to the DMV. Who wants to go down there anyway? Um,
That's right.
yeah, or maybe a free shuttle, free taxi service, something like that, right? So, some way to even out the access, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the strategy. I like it. We got somewhere with that. Honestly, I never really thought about that too in depth. I like that.
Mhm.
Getting me to think. Um, okay. Is there anyone else of the other three lucky people to be in the audience who would like to have any comment, questions, concerns, opinions? Doesn't seem like it. Let's move on to the next item. The next item is a border wall or border laws. So, kind of on the same kind of theme as that last one. I'm specifically talking about the U.S. and Mexico border with this one, but maybe we could talk about the U.S. and Canada border. That could be a similar situation, potentially. Potentially not, but hey, we'll talk about both. So, building a border wall between two countries I guess in Canada it would be ethnically similar, and going down south it might be a little bit more diverse, I would say. So, yeah, is that racist? Hmm. Anybody have any opinions? I hope someone does. Otherwise, it's the Pearson Chris show. Which that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But it's open for more people. Oh, we got people on YouTube commenting. I'm not going to read all of them right now, but I like that people are commenting. Keep commenting, people, or join the Discord server and hop on. Oh, we got people typing in Discord, so that's good. What are they commenting? Yeah, I can read them. One of the comments says, "Sounds like a good opportunity to read the book with your child and have an age-appropriate discussion with them about it." You know what? I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you, the rabbit hole. That's good advice. It's excellent advice. I wouldn't be willing to cede the idea that any policy that has a disparate impact on the population is a de facto classification as, in quotes, racist. At that point, it is too expansive a concept for a shame word. I don't understand that one.
From my
So
understanding, it sounds like what this person is saying is that, like I think I mentioned earlier, was how far do we go before we say that, what are the limits of racism? How far does it go? It's almost like the yeah, exactly. How far do we go? Is there too far? Is there not too far? Like what's the yeah.
I think some people might view it this way too, where it's like we have one definition might be anything that will impact a race differently, right? We have that definition. And then we might have a definition where it might be as long as everybody has to jump through the same hoops, right? Same rules, same regulations. Then anything other than that would be considered racist. Like maybe a certain race wouldn't have to get these IDs, then that would be racist. But as long as the same rules apply to everybody, then that's equal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I read a book about this a few years ago during the pandemic when we had nothing else to do. We were just sitting at home. So I read a book about racism. It was from a guy called Iram X. Kendi. He's a professor from Massachusetts, I believe, Boston University or something like this. And his definition of racism was an interesting one. I found he said, "Racist policy is any measure that produces or sustains racial inequity between racial groups. A racist idea is any that suggests one racial group is inferior or superior to another racial group in any way." And he defines racism as a powerful collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity and are substantiated by racist ideas. That's his definition of racism. So if we use that definition, if we were to use that definition, it could be a completely different definition. But if were to use this one, I'm thinking if there's a policy that stops us from getting cards, or the lack of a policy that stops us from getting ID cards, or certain groups from getting ID cards before a vote, then using such a definition would make it that the fact that we're uh, we're not on cards anymore, we're on walls. But let's stick to cards for a second. The fact that we can't get cards would be a racist kind of a policy.
Yeah.
Right? If we would use that definition, I'm thinking border walls now. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how to talk about border walls right now. It's alien to me. I don't know much about it.
Sure. If I were to take that definition that you just gave me and apply it here, I don't think I could get to the other side without involving more than just the wall. For example, if this wall theoretically went up, I mean, like part of it went up apparently, and part of it fell down, and things are happening with that. But let's say it goes up, it's successful at being a structure that prevents people from crossing the border. I think we'd have to look at way more than just the wall itself. Like if the wall is supposed to prevent illegal immigration, don't think that would be considered racist. However, if there were other policies that impacted the wall, right? So let's say that we were accepting immigrants from Finland, Germany, Australia, India, wherever, but not accepting immigrants from Mexico or any of the other Central or Southern American states, Brazil, Ecuador, right? Um, that might be racist or at least xenophobic, right? Um, because then the only way they could get in is, by coming here without basically going over the border. But it's really a separate issue, in my opinion. That's kind of another thing besides the wall. So yeah, kind of a different subject.
Hmm. And there's also no equivalent physical barrier on the US-Canada border.
There's not.
Um, it would be interesting, like even though both borders see there's undocumented immigration, but at different scales, right? It would be interesting to see if there were the same amount of undocumented immigration coming from Canada going into the US and no wall would be built. But because it's undocumented coming from Mexico, we put up a wall. What does that mean?
Mm.
You know what I mean? If we're yeah, it would be interesting to see hypothetically again, if we're going in the hypothetical realm, if there's 10,000 undocumented Canadians going into the US and then there's 10,000 undocumented Mexicans going into the US, would we, would building a wall just on one side be considered racist?
My gut instinct says yes. However, I
Mhm.
think I think there's a little bit more to uncover from that.
Okay.
It might be what the underlying reason is. If the underlying reason is fear because of race, because of the people who are coming, because of their ethnicity, right? I would say yes. Clearly, obviously, racist. Um, However, if the reason was rooted in something else, like not necessarily race, but for whatever reason, there's more criminal activity coming from one side or the other, whichever side it might be. Um, maybe terrorists are going to Canada because it's easy to get to Canada and then coming into the U.S. Um, like building a wall there might be more ideal. I wouldn't consider that necessarily racist because you want to protect people and it's based off the terrorism. And anybody can be a terrorist. Your race has nothing to do with that. Or if it's easier to get to Mexico as a terrorist and come in through the southern border, it might make sense more to build a wall there. So that might be a good reason. But if it's based off race, then I'd say racist. If it's based on something else, like you know terrorism or something, then no.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
That sound fair, or am I off base with that?
Um. hmm. I think when people are coming from Mexico, if there is crime attached to it, I like to think that it's not because of, and I'm sure a lot of people think this way too. It's not because necessarily of their ethnicity. It's more due to the fact that um, the country has more poverty, right? It has more struggles. It has more issues like this. So when we start assigning negative traits to a racial group, and then that justifies unequal treatment, now we're having a racist, in my opinion. Again, I might be wrong. Somebody else might have something else to say, but in my opinion, the moment we do that, um, now we're being racist because we're putting up a wall to be like, I don't want Mexicans in here because they're dangerous. Not I don't want, or I don't want Mexicans here because they're criminals. And the words we use should be more like, I don't want criminals here, on both ends or from wherever they come here. The word Mexicans or Latinos should not even be attached to criminals, right? Because I think that's when it becomes, people start being confused with, hold on, if we always say Latino and criminal in the same sentence, then I'm going to blend them together, right? And then you have another issue. Um, yeah.
I agree with you completely. Here, we got more comments here. Then applied to cards or border walls, the answer will be fine. We don't care about that. The discourse is over at that point. Hardly anyone talks about Ibram X. Kendi seriously in 2025. Was that the individual that you were talking about the definition, Chris?
Yes, yes. It
Okay.
was in I guess 2025. Okay, so we're thinking maybe 2022 or 2021, when we were talking about using his books and reading his books. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why it would. I mean, I don't know the fella. I'm not familiar. I don't know why any amount of time would necessarily negate a definition. But
Yep.
yeah. All right. We will move on to the next topic here. We got cultural appropriation. This is an interesting one. The example I always my go-to example is like dreads. That's what gets talked about a lot. I mean, there's other stuff that gets talked about. Like maybe me wearing a sombrero. I like to wear those, by the way. They're very good at keeping the sun off your face and shoulders. Like it's terrific. I have one. Um, I think my wife bought it for me. She bought it from Dollar General, I think, on clearance. It was great. Um, but yeah, I work great. Anyways, dreads, sombrero. So dreads would is typically associated with African American culture, or maybe African culture. I'm not really sure, but I know it's common among African Americans to wear dreads. Um, and then when other folks of other races decide to use that hairstyle, some consider it cultural appropriation. Same if I were to wear a sombrero. I'm sure there's many other stuff that could be considered cultural appropriation, but those are a couple examples that I came up with. And my stance on it is the following: um, if you have something in your culture and you think it is just the shit, the bomb, the greatest thing ever, right? Share it, right? Don't keep that to yourself. Don't you want other people to experience the greatness that your culture has come up with? I would. Like I don't. I'm just a guy who lives in the United States. Maybe my culture is like fried cheese curds. That's I'm from Wisconsin. Okay, so that's one thing that I can say is my people. When I say that, I mean just the people I live around. They can be your people too, right? We're all people, and it's something that's great. And you know what? I really like it, and I think anybody should be able to experience that and have that because it's wonderful. They're tasty, man. Don't eat too many because they're like really bad for you, but they're great. All right, I am inviting Doku.
Actually, your culture is fried chicken, and Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Could that be considered cultural appropriation? Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Food is a part of culture, right?
It is. That is true.
Like, for example, like, to be honest, America, South America, Brazil, or these new countries, they don't have a culture. They're just a made up country. Like, for example, America doesn't have like a national identity because like this country is made up of from some immigrants, who came here with their culture. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I think that for Americans it's easier to blend with many nationalities, because they don't have like a unique identity, like history for, I don't know, for years. So everyone brought some of their culture there, and that's why um, so many nationalities can live together. But sometimes, if you see, there are conflicts among them, you know. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
um,
I think I agree with you. Where the United States of America has a they're they're made up of many cultures, right? You know, there's people from all over the world, right? Um, yeah, I would agree. It's like easy for us to combine some of these cultures because, and when I say us, I just mean the United States. I don't know where you happen to be from in the world, but yeah. Um, so so with regards to cultural appropriation in the United States, it sounds like you're taking the stance that share, and the more the merrier. Am I interpreting that right?
wait, could you repeat, please?
With regards to what might be considered cultural appropriation, are you saying that if you want to adopt something from another culture, you should be welcome to do so?
Well, food, like for example, in
Mhm.
America, we don't have like a national food. There is no American food. For example, hamburger, it comes from like from where? From Germany,
England, Germany? I don't know.
Tacos, they are not American, they are Mexican.
Hmm.
French fries. French fries are, you know, French fries are from France, right? You know.
I think it actually came from Belgium, but I think the French stole it from them. But anywho,
Anyway,
so foods generally are an okay appropriation. I think you're indicating. What about if like there was something in like Hindu culture, like maybe something that I would be able to extract from like that religion and find useful for me to have from that culture. Would Is that something that I should be able to do?
well, I think that Christian religion has also the same values as the Hinduism religion.
Okay. What if it was
Like, for
something?
example, like you don't need to like take something from like Hinduism because for example, in Christianity you have these kind of things like to be kind to others, to forgive others. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like Like, yeah, you know.
Okay. If it was like something else, like from Islam, that I adopted for myself, what about then?
But what can you adopt?
That's a good question. That's a good question that I wasn't prepared for. Um, maybe I would adopt. Maybe I would encourage my wife to cover her hair. Maybe that's something I could adopt.
Well, what if she doesn't agree with
Oh,
that?
she's on board. She wants to do it. Actually, it wasn't my idea. It was her idea. Should she be able to adopt that from that culture?
Well, you know, for example, in Christian culture, it's the same. Like, for example, mm, like females should cover their hair, and it's in the Bible too, you know.
Mm,
And yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. If it
yeah.
if it wasn't a part of our culture, if it was something super
But of course, for example, did you see Amish? Have you ever seen
Amish,
Amish?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Amish
Okay.
people. Yeah.
But have you seen that their women have something on their head, right?
Yeah, it's usually a round hat, if I remember correctly. Or am I thinking
Yeah.
of
So
something else?
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, for example, um, Amish culture preserves this thing, you know.
Okay. I'm trying to see the relevance. I lost. I lost the. I'm a train
Oh,
and I'm off
because
the
you
tracks.
know Amish, how to say, Amish are Christians, you know, and Amish are non-Protestant, new Protestant, like and
Can I jump in for a second, Bondo?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, go on.
Okay, I, I think the question is, from my understanding is, should somebody adopt something else from another culture? But is it considered racist, right? And why?
Consider
Kind of
racist.
that's kind of what I understand from it. For example,
Uh,
like if a non-Muslim female would go around wearing a hijab, would that be racist or not?
no,
Right?
I
Are we
don't
playing
think
games
so.
here or not? And if yes, why? And then if no, why not? So you say no. Why don't you think it's racist?
I don't know if she can wear it. Why not? Like, I don't see anything bad. I think actually women look very nice with hijab on their head. They look
Sure.
pretty symmetric. Like,
Not a bad look. Yeah.
not with burqa, but with the scarf around.
Sure.
Uh,
Cool. And I just want to clarify earlier when I said, you know, if my wife was to adopt this from this culture, I'm not saying that all Muslims, Muslim women, wear
but
a hijab. I'm sure it's only a certain percentage. So I just wanted to clarify that real quick. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we actually agree on this. We kind of agree that you should be able to adopt things from other cultures if you want to. You should have the freedom to do so. Right.
yeah, like for example, I don't know. It looks nice, but it depends in which country you do that. Like for example,
Mm,
if you do this in my country, um, so many people are going to stare at you and they're going to call you names.
mm,
And
that's too
yeah,
bad.
but I don't know. Maybe in Canada, maybe it's something else because there is a big majority of Muslim people. You know, like there are many.
Yeah. So
many
in certain regions, you might run into resistance or bullying or harassment. But overall,
yeah,
if you want to, you don't think there's anything
for
racist
example,
necessarily.
in France, they banned the hijab. They banned
Oh,
the
really?
hijab. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. That's rude.
Macron did that.
Huh.
Macron.
I didn't know that. That's wild. That's wild to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
And
that
now
racist?
I don't know what to say, but I think that Europe is becoming more extremist and extremist. You know, like so many extremist parties are winning the elections. You know,
You're talking
because
about in France, right?
in all of Europe.
Okay. Continue on.
In all Europe, and yeah, and I think that in future people will be more nationalist, unfortunately.
I
And
didn't quite catch that. Be more. What are people being more?
nationalist.
Nationalists. Okay.
Nationalist. Okay, nationalist. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Nationalist. Yeah.
So let me summarize.
And
Make sure I caught everything. Your voice is coming in a little bit soft, but let me summarize here. So people in France and in all of Europe, more Muslims are being elected to hold offices, and as a result of this, France banned hijabs, and in the future, we suspect people will become more nationalist. Did I capture all of that correctly?
well, not exactly. It's
Okay.
because of the immigration of Muslim people and because of many immigrants,
Hmm.
um, many extremist parties are winning,
Okay.
percentages, like percent,
I get it.
many percent in the
Okay.
elections because the thing
Like,
is that
can I check
go
to
on,
make
go
sure
on.
I understand here? I think what you were saying, I had it kind of backwards. It's not that more Muslims are holding office, but more extreme groups. So groups that might
And
want
not
to.
like extreme groups, not like extreme groups, but you know how people are because when they see foreigners, like having a different religion, um, you know, wearing different clothes, you know, um, you know what I'm saying? They become more racist, because
Hmm,
they are scared of, they're afraid
gotcha.
of
Okay.
unknown.
When people
Yeah,
encounter other cultures in their personal lives, so coming in close proximity to them, they may develop more racist tendencies as a result.
yeah. Nowadays, for example, in Europe, it's hard to find people that are not racist.
Hmm,
You know,
okay. Hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
When you say
So usually,
racist, can you elaborate a
so
little bit more on that?
usually, so usually, most of the how to say, most of the Europeans who are not racist are those guys who make money out of these kind of programs. For example, if you have an NGO, right? You have an NGO, and you take money from the government to make these programs, anti-discrimination programs. But you are doing this only to make money. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm,
Um,
okay.
yeah, but how to say? I don't know. I think it's pretty hard to find a person genuine about his opinions on different groups. You know what I'm saying? Because nowadays most of the people are
Hmm,
like people are sensitive if they had like bad experience with a Muslim or a black person, he's going to hate that group, and
Yeah.
that's why it's pretty hard to find people that are generally nice to others, to other different groups.
Yeah.
Oh
How
yeah.
there's a couple questions I'd like to ask. One of the questions is how did you figure out that the majority of people are like this? And the other one would be what can we do to prevent this from happening?
Good education from the
Okay.
parents, But this is recorded on YouTube. Okay.
It is.
Why do you record it? Why are you recording it on YouTube?
That's what I do with these events all the time.
Okay,
If you don't
that's
want to continue,
interesting.
totally understand.
It's like education from your parents. Well, that's how it is. To not generalize, it's very hard not to generalize. When,
Yeah.
especially when you live with so many minorities. Because people tend to generalize. Okay, Italians eat more spaghetti. Black people eat more fried chicken. For example, in America, if you live in America, oh, Moroccans eat more couscous. Uh, what can I
Sure.
say?
I
Yeah, these
gotcha.
are
Stereotypes.
generalizations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting back to like Europe, and I think you stated that it's difficult to find people in Europe who are not racist. I'm really wondering how you've come to that conclusion.
Man, I see I don't know, like the thing is that you can see that from the eyes. Like, for example, look, how to say, let me find my words. Okay, so the thing is that, I saw different people, when they met someone who is different, for example, they accepted him, but not totally, because like you can see from their body language that mm, that they you can see from their body language that um that people are not nice to, I don't know, to brown people or to black or to, like, you see from the eyes, of the Europeans, of, what I'm saying, of course. But yeah.
Okay. Okay,
But
I think I'm
racism is
picking up.
everywhere. Racism is everywhere. Racism is everywhere, even in Africa, even in.
Mhm.
But Europe is the best place for African immigrants, for Arab immigrants, because it's more rich and it's more important because it has more money. That's why. You know what I'm saying?
I think
And
so. Let me
yeah,
repeat. Let me repeat back what I'm hearing to make sure I understand. So I think this is coming down from like a personal experience, being around these people who are in Europe, and you can see it kind of. You said it in their eyes, so you kind of described like body language, like maybe staring at them, giving them mean looks, mean mugging them, maybe not looking at them, avoiding eye contact. Stuff like that. You may have witnessed. Did I capture that about right?
like look at when Barack Obama became a president. You know, uh, when when he shakes hands with other politicians, after that the politicians, they wash they clean their hands with something, with
Hmm.
scarf or something. You know, it's a YouTube video. It's on YouTube, of course. So
Okay.
even with the president of America, the politicians were like that. You know,
Okay. Interesting.
so
Interesting. I, I'd just like to clarify real quick. Earlier, you were saying like it's hard to find someone who's not racist. Was that an indication that you believe most people in Europe are racist?
Yeah, I believe so, because not so many people would, I don't know, would interact with, like, would have in their group of friends black people or brown people. Yeah, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Yeah. I'm gonna pose a question here. Let's say you see you're like on a train or something. In Europe, you guys love trains, right? So you're on a train, lots of people, it's just loaded with people. You see one person mean mugging a person of color, let's say, and they the person happens to be white. They're mean mugging them or ignoring them or doing something, some sort of body language that would indicate racism, right? Um, how many other people do you think on that train would also like exhibit that same behavior? You think it would be like most of them, or half of them, a third of them?
Like, for example, if the train is crowded, they have to accept you. you know
Okay,
if the train is crowded, they cannot do anything about that. Okay, they are going to wait. When we don't like something, but you move your face somehow. I don't know how to find this um word. um Wait.
like this.
Nah, not like this. uh when you are disgusted, this.
That
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but
I got you.
it's in a more like, but it's more in a slight way. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Um, okay, so expression of disgust, yeah. And it just doesn't necessarily have to be a train. You know, this hypothetical can be anything, right? Maybe it's just you're walking through a place where there's happens to be a decent amount of other people all spread out. How many people do you think you'd run into where they'd be interacting with someone or near someone of another race and they'd show this disgust? You think you'd
Okay,
see
for
it all over
example,
the?
like, if there was like a group of four people, you know
Mhm.
and for example, you would meet these four people in one interaction. And like, these three people, they like you, but the other one doesn't like you. And this guy who is their friend say, okay, we don't accept this guy in our group because our friend doesn't like him. So
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. So yeah.
Interesting. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. So the reason I was giving you this hypothetical before was because I was trying to kind of tug at your reason for belief. I was trying to figure out, um, well, not so much reason. I guess I was testing the limit or so. Like I was trying to figure out, like, is your reason for thinking most of Europe is racist is because you see these interactions
Yeah,
regularly,
and
perhaps? Yeah.
I'm Armenian. I'm an Armenian.
Hmm.
I look brown, and but I live in Europe, and I tell you from my experience. You know what I'm saying? Uh, no,
Okay.
yeah.
If I were to give you like a little flashlight, maybe like they have on what's it called? The one with Will Smith. Why don't I remember that movie name? Anyways, I give you a little flashlight, and you can flash it in people's eyes, and then they have to tell you the truth instead of forgetting or whatever. Men in Black. Yes, that is the movie. So I give you this special little Men in Black device, and it works like a truth serum. You know, people only can tell the truth. And if you were to walk down any random street in Europe and you were to flash a few people, that came out a little bit weird. Anyways, use this truth flashlight on some people, and like let's say you did it on 10 people, and you asked them like, "Hey, are you a racist?" Or and they have to tell you the truth. They're like, "Do you think poorly of people of color or something like that?" Right? Are you disgusted
Well,
by people of
to
color?
be honest, to be honest, like, well, to be honest, it would be weird. It would be weird to do that,
It would be weird.
and it would be weird, definitely. And
It'd be weird. How
like for
many
example,
how
I
many
usually
people
don't like
how many,
human interactions in a train because, for example, if I talk to like random people on train, they ask me, "Oh, but where are you from? Why are you so brown? Tell me the whole story of your family." When they come here, when they, like that's why. So I usually like, um, I'm silent in a train, and yeah,
okay, I'll take
yeah.
the pressure off you, my man.
And for
So I'll
example, it's not like like in my country, people, how to say, in the trains are not like so social because you know in my
yeah,
country it's saying don't talk with strangers. It's not nice. You know what I'm saying? Don't talk to
yeah,
strangers.
I
It's
got
someone
you.
that you don't know. So all people, they mind their own business. They stay. They are watching on YouTube. And usually if it's someone that you know, yes, you talk to him, but you don't go to to people and hey, what's up, bro? Like, hey, I know you for 20 years. It's not like
I got you.
in America, like in the
I,
hood, like, yeah.
I,
uh,
um,
i'm just I'm just
I'm a,
joking,
I know. Yeah, does that happen in the hood? I mean, it might not. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna take some pressure off you. So I'm gonna be the one with the flashlight. I'm gonna be walking down the streets of Europe. They can think I'm weird. All right, but it's okay because I got the flashlight, and they have to talk to me because once I flash them, they have to tell me the truth and they have to talk to me. So if I were to flash like 10 people, 10 random people, what do you think like the results would be? Would like 10 out of 10 be racist? Would 3 out of 10 be racist? What are you thinking?
I think that maybe two of them would be nice and answer to you, but I think that most of the people would slap you on the face or just walk away.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah,
Just because I'm being weird, or is it because they're racist?
it's not because of that, but you are a strange person, with
The flashlight, it makes them also behave
oh
and be
yeah, and
nice. Yeah.
also the question is inappropriate. Like it's not like because
No, yeah,
usually
that's
people
true.
because usually people, like for example in real life, they're not so confident that they are racist. They usually keep it for themselves, you know.
Yeah.
But they show their racism through the body language, through many things, but slightly.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
Only stupid people, like in general, smart people are usually smart racists. So they are slight in there. They do the move slightly, not obvious, not to be obvious.
No, I'm not saying you're mistaken with this next question. I don't know if you are. I honestly don't really know. Um, but let's say hypothetically that you were mistaken, and let's say 8 out of 10 people are not racist, and 2 out of 10 people in Europe are racist. Hypothetically, um, given that this hypothetical, how if you were to find out the truth of the matter that you were mistaken, How would you go about figuring that out?
Could you ask? Could you come again, please?
Yeah, let me try going at that from a different angle. I apologize, it was a little wordy. Let's try again. If you were mistaken, which I'm not saying you were, but if you were mistaken about most people in Europe being racist, and most people, let's just say most people are not, how would you go about figuring that out?
Hmm. Well, you know, the people, some people that I told you, some people that don't show this thing quickly,
Sure.
but in time they show it. But as I told you, for example, there is a little number of people who are like genuinely not racist, like for example, like Chris. Like for example, you see Chris, he didn't care about the social values, the social these social barriers. For example, he married a Moroccan woman, and 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 this is, I think that this is an act of courage, because, for example, people, they have big mouths, you know, and for example, I don't know, if you marry a black person and you are white, people are like, oh, but why did you marry this person? He's not your race. He's not your. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like he risked so much because um, you're not normal to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's something bizarre. It's something. Uh,
Okay.
it is not in accordance with society's norms. You know,
Okay. Okay. I hear you.
and some people, when they go, for example, there there are some, like, for example, there was a girl, like, she stopped talking to me because she said, I stopped talking to you because all the people were watching us, and I feel ashamed. So she stopped talking to me because of that, because she
Mm.
realized that in accordance with social norms, uh, I, I I have a low status, low racial
Oh.
status.
Hmm. Well, I'm sorry you went through
So
that. That's rough. That sucks that someone
so
would stop talking to you because of that.
so this is the thing, like, that's the thing, like, that's why I say that, Chris is like it's a rare person. It's like,
Mm.
you know to risk with it, what I'm saying, like, um, it means
What
that she loved that person a lot. If you don't care about others' opinion, on your choice, and yeah.
what could convince you that there are more people like Chris in Europe?
I don't think that there are
Yeah, no, but
many.
what could convince you that there are?
I don't know, but I don't think
Mm.
that there are many. There are, for sure, there are, but I don't think that there are like more than 10 or 6
In
anyway.
all of Europe?
No, 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 not in all of the in a city. In a city,
Oh,
for
okay.
example.
Okay. Still, just not more than like 6.
For example, Europeans like being with Europeans, like white with white, and it's very, how to say, it is very, very, you know, hard for them to, how to say, yeah, it is very hard for them to to be an outcast of the society, because when you marry someone that is different, you become an outcast of the society. But if you don't care about, you hear me?
I hear you. Did you think your mic cut out or something? Maybe it
And
did.
being so many abstentions about European being so racist, well, it's because of my experience, and I'm telling you my experience. And yes, like somehow I understand people who are racist, because like people are, like they're foreigners and they see them differently and they are scared of unknown things, and and I kind of understand them. I try to emphasize with them. Uh,
I'm wondering. I'd like to give you a hypothetical, and I know hypotheticals might not be your thing, but I'm gonna. Let's say I went out with a buddy of mine, and let's say it was a male, and we were like romantically involved, right? And we'd hold hands, and there'd be we would notice people like giving us looks, like looks like that, you know. And let's say everywhere we went, I usually saw at least one, or maybe he saw one, or and we kind of saw this like pattern where people would be giving us that look, and I determined that because we saw these people, these individuals who were giving us these looks, that the majority of people in Wisconsin definitely were homophobic, that they didn't like gay people. Do you think that I would be reasonable with that assumption, like connecting those dots?
uh, yeah, there will be looks. There will be looks for sure. And what can I say? But if you are strong enough to support these things, you have to move on.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, do you think that because of my observations, do you think that would indicate that more than 50% of the people in Wisconsin are homophobic?
Are you still there, Bondi?
You hear me?
I can hear you now.
And that's how it is. You cannot change what you are. You are born with this, and you shouldn't care about the other looks. Because if you wanted to do that, you have to be a man and you have to support the consequences, or like, do not care, just simply. But yeah, maybe in Wisconsin, people would be more how to say, um, like, they 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 would give some looks, but they would not like try to assault you or something. For example, in Russia, if this happened, they would probably like beat them. You know, like really in
Mm,
Russia, for example, people are pretty homophobic in Eastern
yeah.
Europe, usually. So
I think
yeah.
your mic might have, or your internet or something might have cut out at the beginning when you were talking. Um, what was it? So my hypothetical, or my question was like, should I believe that over 50% of Wisconsinites are homophobic because of my observations? I didn't quite catch the beginning of that. Was that like a yes or a no?
The thing is that theoretically, you shouldn't think about it because, like for example, if you think about these things, you would probably get sick. Just uh, just be like the sea. The sea goes everywhere. You know, also in
Hmm.
the right, also in the middle, also everywhere. And yeah, just live your life as I do. Of course. For example, uh, I sup- I struggle with these kind of things every day, like bad looks and stuff like this, and but I moved on. Like what can I do? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And yeah, but that's how it
What
is anyway.
what what can I do? I love that question. I know it was rhetorical because like, what can I do? I can't do anything. I like that question, and I would like an opportunity
Like
to
okay,
answer
yeah.
that.
For example, usually I realize that when you become rich, and even though I don't know, you are black or brown or I don't know, everything you know changes for you. Like you became more respected, you became more famous. Yeah, that's what you can do. To become famous, to become rich and famous, and everyone would know you and they would not give you looks. They would admire you, but you know what I'm saying. Like I think that we put so much emphasis in what people are saying about us. We shouldn't do sometimes. you know like yeah, it's a saying that, oh, your your opinion, it's not my truth, it's not the way I have to live. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end it off with this topic anyway. With just saying that what we can do, what I would like to do, and I'm not saying anybody else has to do it, but what I would like to do is just continue to have conversations with all people, and I think that's one of the ways to move forward and hopefully overcome some of that racism, stigma, divide. I would just like to keep having conversations, keep the dialogue rolling. That's what I would like to do anyway. But yeah, thank you so much for coming up, and we'll move on to the next topic. Should I leave you up on stage? Do you want to stay up on stage? You're one of the few people who was willing to come up. Um, I'll leave you up here for now, but
Oh,
I'll take.
what's the other topic?
Let's see. The next one. I have two remaining topics. The next one you might not be familiar with, since it sounds like you live in Europe. It was Redskins and Chiefs. Those are sports teams. The Redskins historically had used a Native American image as their mascot. Same thing with the Chiefs, but they continue to use it to this day.
I see. Well, I don't like basketball, so
Football, actually. American football.
it's American football.
Yeah,
Okay. So I don't know. Choose someone different who likes American football.
sure.
Anyway,
Anyone in the audience have any comments on this subject? Going once. Going twice. Apparently not. That's okay. I got one more. Microaggressions in everyday interactions is the last topic I got here. Comments like, I don't see color, or I'm colorblind, can be interpreted as racist because they dismiss the lived experience of racial minorities and the real impact of racism. What do you guys think about that? That's one that's a little bit complex in the word department in how you interpret what was said. Yes, that's the whole statement. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think putting up a definition of microaggressions, I think a lot of people don't know what that definition means unless you're kind of, into that kind of stuff.
Let's see.
But yeah, I'll answer. Is it considered racism? Well, the way I was described, or I've never lived it, right? I've never had that experience of microaggression, but the way someone described it to me is, we call it a microaggression, but when we have enough of it, it becomes a macroaggression. They didn't even like the term microaggression because it's almost like, if I scratch my arm right now, just once with my nail, it goes down, it doesn't hurt. But if I do it 20 times, it gets irritating. And then if I do it 500 times, it'll start bleeding, right? It's kind of like that of you just constantly are reminded that you don't belong here. And those are your microaggressions, right? And to some people, they like brush it off. They're like, man, whatever. That's what it is. That's life. It's not such a big deal. And to others, it is important, right?
Mm.
That's what I understand from what microaggressions are. If you constantly are reminded that you're different, different people may, experience that in different ways. Those microaggressions.
Interesting. My example that ChatGPT actually generated, I think might be the opposite of what you said. And I did just look up the definition of microaggressions, which is basically exactly what you said. Subtle, often unintentional expressions or behaviors that communicate negative or derogatory messages or assumptions towards members of a marginalized group, typically reflecting underlying prejudices or stereotypes. And what I had here, which I would say microaggressions in that definition, I would consider it racist personally, of the definition I just gave. But in the example, it gives microaggressions as I don't see color, I'm colorblind. And I think that might be the opposite, because that's not pointing out differences. It's suggesting that there are no differences. And I'm wondering if that example would be considered racist.
Suggesting that there are no differences. Yeah. I think when it becomes an issue here is, we might point out that we want everything to be equal, right? But I think the issue is let's not, if we think this way and there's actually a problem going on, but we prefer to not recognize it as a problem or not see people for their experience, what they're actually experiencing. I think that's what color blindness is all about, from my understanding of it anyway. It's like something's going on, but I'm going to say, listen, man, I don't care if you're blue, purple, orange, red. We're all going to do the same thing, right? And if we're talking about like, okay, should we help a certain minority group more than others, which is a form of affirmative action, is that a form of racism? Right. And some people will say, yes, absolutely, this is racism. Affirmative action is racism. And others will say, no, it's not racism. It's actually a way to It's like a power balance, putting everybody on the same level, on the same playing field. Some people are more ahead than others, and if we say no, we're all, we're all the same, then we're kind of, in a way, yeah, in a perfect world, we are all the same. But in a way, we're also saying, I don't see what I don't even want to see what you're living or what you're experiencing. We're all the same, right? It's kind of like it goes both ways. It can be interpreted differently. It also has to do with intentions.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, context might be super important.
Yeah.
Like, I could imagine, like, at a basketball game or something, the ref calls a foul, and the player goes over and is like, "You just called that foul because I'm black or because I'm white or whatever, whichever way you want to do that." The ref might say, "No, I'm colorblind," and that might be like not racist. He might be like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna treat you all the same under the rules of basketball," right? And a different context might be like, maybe we're talking about a good example. How certain jobs, only one particular race is getting hired, but even though there's many races that are just as qualified, like academically, or they have experience or education, or whatever you want to say. Then saying, "Well, I see you all as color," and ignoring, like saying I'm colorblind, and that might be like dismissing the issue, I suppose. Just saying like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's almost like when people say something very offensive and then they know they know it's offensive, and the way they kind of protect themselves from consequences is by saying it was just a joke, right? It's almost like that. It's like if you do something super racist and someone says, "Hey, hey, hey, what the hell was that?" Um, the answer could be, I don't care what color you are, man. I'm colorblind, right? It doesn't matter to me. It's kind of like a way to get yourself out of a tricky situation, instead of owning up to like, yeah, maybe I said something. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Sorry about that. Instead of saying that, which is easy to say as well, it's, I don't care what color you are. Sometimes I've seen this happening in my own personal life. I've seen this happen before. And it was clear that the person was, again, I want to say, like, I work with kids, and kids think that adults around them are invisible, so you can see everything that they do. And oftentimes you will have those responses of like, it's clear that they're being super, uh, 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 you know, they're being racist about something, but saying that, you know, well, I have a black friend, or I don't care what color you are, we're all the same, is sometimes a cop out. Sometimes, not always.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we're viewing that the same way. Cool. All right. That's all I got for topics. Anybody else have any final thoughts, including you, Chris? Anybody want to come up on stage, say any final words?
Well, I just
Yeah.
want to thank people that showed up, for supporting, the channel, and for supporting you, Pierce, and what you do. And you have a really nice YouTube channel. I'm going to continue posting your videos on the server. It's nice to have those extra videos, and they're very thoughtful and interesting, or
Thank you.
thought-provoking, I should say. And yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming here. And this is not an easy topic. And being, I guess my word, if I can share it, is being racist does not make someone a bad person. It makes some. I think we all are, in our own way, have racial biases. And if somebody says you're racist, me just fixing it, or trying to change the way I do things, or just apologizing, like, okay, even if it wouldn't be racist, just being like, hey, like, yeah, okay, I can see how you interpret it as racism, instead of being defensive. is not that hard to do. It really isn't. And having the conversation like you're doing here, Pierce, is a good thing. It's good to talk about taboo subjects, and the more we talk about it, the better, the more we learn, the better we become. So yeah, I would say that racism isn't something you are, it doesn't define you. It's an action that you do, and it can always be fixed. I can do something racist today and tomorrow come back on it and say, actually, sorry, apologize. It doesn't make me, it's not a personality trait. It's an action. It's every day you can be a certain way, and the next day you can be a different way, right? It really, it's an action, and it's not, yeah, that's how I would frame it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would use slightly different words to say exactly the same thing. I think I would say that racism is a strategy to fulfill a need, using a poor strategy to fulfill a need. You can come back the next day, choose a better strategy that doesn't have to impact another group of individuals negatively, and still be able to fulfill your needs, right? I think that's where it's at for me. Same thing you said, just phrased a little differently.
Yep.
Cool. You know what? Let's end on that note. I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you everybody in the audience for watching on Discord, YouTube. Thank you, Kandoku. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. That was a lovely conversation we had. I really enjoyed it. And see you next time.
If you've watched this far, you know what to do. Don't miss what's next. The choice is on you. Stay in the loop, keep your feet in line. Hit that bell, catch me live next time. It's simple, it's quick, but it means a lot. Stay connected, see the moves I've got. No promises, no fluff, just what's real. Subscribe and the update seal the deal. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you. The stream's done now, but the content won't stop. So stay in the loop till I'm back at the top.